Welcome to the Universal Dancer podcast with your host Leslie Zare, author of The Alchemy of Dance and the Alchemia Remedies. Coming to you from Cairo, Egypt, the ancient land of Chem. Journey with us to explore sacred dance, the sacred arts, the mystical and the magical. Join a community of like-minded souls seeking to understand the cosmic dance of co-creation through the sacred arts. Come along and expand your mind, ignite your creativity, and explore something new and something old. Welcome to the Universal Dancer podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Zare, and I have another beautiful guest for you today, so let's just jump right in and meet her. Liz Diaz is an advocate for women's spiritual and emotional empowerment through dance. She brings over a decade of experience specializing in helping women enhance their emotional and spiritual well-being through dance, expressive arts, and ritual. Her work is grounded in Gestalt psychotherapy, expressive arts, somatic awareness, dance ritual, and dance movement therapy. Currently based in the Sacred Valley of Peru and Toronto, Canada, she is deeply committed to fostering connections, healing, and self-discovery through the transformative power of dance. Let's welcome Liz to the show. Welcome, Liz. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Leslie. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Me too.
This has been a long time coming, so
I think we've been trying for over a year now to get together.
Yeah, but here we are.
Here we are.
Persevere, and here we are. And I'm sure we have things to say that we wouldn't have had to say a year ago. So I'm sure this is the right moment. So let's begin, as I always begin, which is just, where did your dance journey begin? Did you begin as a child, later on? Just tell us a little bit about your background in dance.
Sure. My dance came later when I was searching, really in a spiritual sort of quest. I was searching for a path, and I had gone through a change in my career, ended a long-term relationship. And I think I had just turned either 30 or 31. I'm 43 now, so I think I had just turned 30 or 31, in around there. And my spiritual search led me to Mexico. And I'll keep the story short because it is quite an odyssey of sorts. And I was on this quest for something more. I felt really kind of disheartened with all of the transformational experiences that I had gone through my breakup, through the end of my career. I had been working in the public sector as a social worker, and I was searching for something more. I knew there was more, but I didn't know what it was. And my spiritual journey took me to Mexico. And when I was in Mexico, I attended a sweat temazcal. And then I attended, right after that, there was a fire ceremony. And there were some people that had come through this place that I had ended up, and they were Chilean djembe drummers. And so they'd been in Africa for many years, and they were bringing this medicine of djembe. And, it's those big, massive drums. And we were all around the fire, and they started to play these drums. And I, now in retrospect, I know what happened. But in that moment, I went into a trance. I hadn't taken any psychedelics. I had simply been in a sweat lodge earlier in the day, which I was definitely part of the process. And that took me, the djembes, the drumming, took me into a trance where my body started to move, at first consciously, and then second, after that, I went into this really deep conversation with spirit, with the universe, and had to surrender my body into this rhythm. And from that experience, from that really massive spiritual awakening, I realized that my body is a vehicle for communion with God, universe, divine, whatever, goddess, whatever you call, that's superior sort of energy, and with my higher self. And so that's when my quest began for finding practices like conscious movement and conscious stance that could really support me in accessing these spaces of alchemy and transformation myself. Before that, I didn't really know about conscious dance or ecstatic dance or all the different modalities that we have of conscious movement. I didn't know, and so that's kind of when it first started to take me down this path. And that's when I started to look for different trainings in different communities, and found my community in Toronto, and became deeply involved in Five Rhythms, Dance Our Way Home with Erica Ross, did my training with her, became an ecstatic dance DJ, ran my own conscious dance parties. It was just like the door opening was this really powerful spiritual experience.
That's beautiful. Yes, you were moved.
Literally moved. Literally
Yes.
moved by spirit. Like there was no holding on to, like I remember having this conversation with myself, like, okay, just hold on, don't let go. And it was like, nope, you have to let go. And I no, like holding my body back. It was just like, yeah, it was in that trance space.
But I think that's a really good point, is that if we stay in a structure, we aren't going to be moved. We aren't going to expand. It is that surrender. I mean, that is the word. If you want to connect with spirit, you need to surrender. And I think that's really difficult to do, especially for people from a Western society, because you're taught to be very controlled. But that is the key, and to find the way to do that. So, and I'm sure that the sweat lodge that sets you up, that starts to break down the barriers.
Yeah, I want to respond to something that you just said, and I've seen it a lot with women who are new to a conscious dance practice, that the mind gets in the way about like, ooh, how am I moving? Am I moving right? And then, or there's also like a lot of thoughts about their day, or about possibly inner judgment, a lot of inner criticism about body, how is my body? How does my body move in the space? And so a lot of the work I feel in my practice and in other practices that I'm a part of is silencing the mind enough so that we can come into a conscious awareness of what wants to move, quote unquote, and what wants to move from the inside out. So something that's maybe in my practice anyways, that's not aesthetically led, but led from the space of what is happening at the level of my emotions, what is happening at the level of my sensations, and how can I use or explore my movements to help me release, process, integrate, alchemize what may be occurring for me in this moment, or maybe how I'm potentially arriving to the dance floor, because I truly believe that the dance floor is a sacred ground for us to meet ourselves, and a sacred ground that really holds us in this process of alchemy and transformation through movement, through breath. Yeah.
And I think that's a big problem just with the word dance. It is a charged word, again, especially in the West, where if you're not a professional dancer, then you don't dance. It's something you should have taken some kind of dance classes. And that's why I like to begin with that question about where did your dance journey begin? Because a lot of people didn't start dancing until they were older, or maybe didn't even have the opportunity to dance when they were younger. So then they feel like, no, I'm not a dancer. I never took dance classes, so I'm not a dancer. And
Yeah,
that's
I
not the
really
point.
resonate with that. Yeah, I really resonate with that. And I think that's the biggest struggle that I have with sharing this work. And I know a lot of other practitioners do as well. Um, Finding other ways of describing what we do, because the word dance is so heavily charged. You know, when I was a kid, I loved to dress up and dance at my home, and my like would wear my mom's clothes and would dress up and like do some like pretend like put on a play or dance or sing. But we didn't have money for me to take classes, and so I took maybe like a couple of months of ballet, but we couldn't afford it, so I never continued. And yeah, when I was like a teenager, and like a young adult, you know, going to a dance party, I love that. And I now that I think back, I would get into these sort of ecstatic states, but I didn't know that's what they were at that point in time. And so anyone who's listening right now who's maybe found us here in this space, I really truly invite you to um, find maybe there's many different ways to access a conscious movement, conscious dance, and also to remind you that we are moving beings from a very young age. Our first thing that we're doing is moving, crawling, you know, pushing ourselves up to see if we can stand. We're not talking. We are moving and being receptive to how others are also moving. And so I think innately we have this primal impulse, you know, the spiral to explore the spiral in our own body. And so if you are curious about conscious dance as a healing tool for you, um, I would even suggest like maybe playing a song, like a 3-minute song based on how you're feeling in that moment and letting yourself intuitively move. So maybe exploring if you tune into your body, noticing like what parts of your body maybe feel tense, maybe exploring maybe, oh, it's my shoulders that are tense. Okay, let me move that shoulder. And then your body is going to naturally start to create its own dance. So from your movement of your shoulder, will naturally your elbow is going to start to move, and then maybe you're going to find a sway. And so I invite you to really get curious about this intuitive nature that we have to move. And if you can find a community close to you, then I would invite you to be courageous and to try. It's such a powerful practice, and will really transform your life. I can really attest to that for myself and for other women that I've witnessed in over the plus 10 years that I've been doing this work.
Well, and I think you brought up an important point, like children dance. They just automatically start moving. And I think they have the same experience you did, where that the music is engaging them or pulling them or whatever, however you want to explain that. And it does, it just happens. And we need to get out of our way. And I agree that when there's a lot of judgment, then it's difficult to do that. But as you said, you can do it alone. I think that's a really good place to start. And even when I was pregnant, even in the womb, like if I would put music on, my child would start moving in the womb. So they had no concept of judgment, I suppose, at that point. So it was easy. But we just pick up those rhythms as you did when you heard the drumming. And as you said, just find a piece of music. And I think starting by yourself is a good way, and without a mirror. Don't dance in
Yes.
front of a mirror.
Yes.
Turn away from the mirror, put on a piece of music, and just enjoy the music. Feel the music. And then later, if you are comfortable with that, you can join other people, because that's a whole different experience.
And it's
But
also
there's
very
no
healing
reason.
to move in groups. Yeah.
It is. But and I think both of them are important. I put my Dance as a Spiritual Practice course online, like as an evergreen course, because I wanted to encourage people to dance by themselves. A lot of times people would come to a class, and then what they were learning was something that they could do at home alone, but they
Absolutely.
didn't. And I really think that both of these things are important. So start with the one that feels most comfortable to you. Some people don't want to be alone, so they want to start with a group. But whichever one it is, I think open the door. Just open the door a little bit.
Totally.
And then you will be pulled in once you begin to
You won't be able to stop.
move. Exactly. You become possessed, and then you can't stop moving no matter where you are, and that can be embarrassing, but never mind. When you start dancing and you don't realize it. Anyway, so what do you so you started with the drum and you started with this movement, but what does dance and spirituality mean to you? How do those things come together for you?
That's a really powerful question. So in my practice and in my daily life, I use dance as a way to connect with myself and to connect with higher source. It's a way that I access truth. It's a way that I access wisdom and inspiration. And dance has helped me through some of the most challenging times, through grief, through confusion. Right now, it's helping me through perimenopause. It's helped me through the pandemic. It's helped me move through living in a new country. It's helped me move through the ends of relationships. It's been really my form of prayer. I know that prayer can be sometimes can be a heavy word for some people. Some people love the word prayer, but for me, dance is my form of prayer. It's a way that I get to be present with myself, because we can be so busy in the mind, and to move with fear, sadness, anger, but also access joy. Dance helps me access joy and possibility. And I think that that's what really spirituality is about. Spirituality is about finding hope and possibility. And for me, that's what dance offers me is moments of, that, like you said, like that little opening of like, oh, there's something else possible here that I couldn't see before when I was so stuck in my mind or I was stuck in an emotion. It really opens us up to faith and hope and possibility. That's what spiritual dance or dancing spiritually is for me. Yeah.
And I think for people who haven't had the experience, just to get into your body and out of your head. And the interesting thing I think about dance is that you can do that consciously. Like we might go to sleep and that's how we get out of our head, or we're distracted by someone and we get out of our head. We mistakenly have a moment of silence and then all the answers start to come. But we can do that. We can do that consciously by dancing, by allowing ourselves to go into our body and to really feel our bodies, and that just immediately takes us out of our head. So I don't think that a lot of people realize how easy that is to do through dance, that it just happens. When you feel your feet on the floor, that just happens. It isn't a
Completely.
complicated process, or I mean, it can be as complicated as you want it to be, but just that simple thing of embodiment just takes you out of your head. And then I think, as you said, you can open then to other things.
Yeah, we become the channel through our body for our higher selves and for spirit. And our body holds so much wisdom that wants to support us in our life's paths, wants to support us in being in deeper alignment with what is true for us. And so, dance is just a completely powerful way to come back to this resource, that we have, but also this real source of wisdom. And so I really resonate with what you said, Leslie, that, our body is a gateway. It's a gateway for healing. It's a gateway for joy. It's a gateway to literally move through our challenges in our lives.
So let's talk about that for a minute, embodied wisdom, because I think for someone who has not had that experience, it's difficult to understand. So what does that mean to you, this embodied wisdom?
Well, if you're open to it, we can do a little exploration now and invite people to also explore with us. And so if it feels comfortable to you, you can close your eyes or just simply bring your eyes down to a softened gaze and just take a moment to follow your breath for a moment here. Notice how it moves through your nose and into your chest. And from the space of introspection, of being aware of what's going on internally, take a moment to see what else is present in your body. Maybe it's a sensation that you're aware of. Maybe it's the sensation could be a tingling, maybe a sense of lightness, maybe a sense of openness, and follow that sensation to where it starts in your body. And just take a moment here to be with this part of your body that's connecting with the sensation, where the sensation lives. And as you stay present with the sensation, maybe notice if there is a color or maybe an image that arises. I'm not trying to judge what comes up, simply being with what's present here. And I invite you to go just a little further into being curious about what lives here in this part of your body. Maybe there is an emotion that is underneath the sensation. And if it feels right to you, you can bring a hand to this part of your body and just give it a little bit of love and a little bit of tenderness and warmth through this physical touch. And again, if it feels right to you, you can maybe ask it what it needs in this moment. And that could be simply sending a breath to it. That maybe could be surrounding it with light, or maybe it's something larger that it asks for. Maybe it needs more water or wants to go for a walk. Just allow this wisdom from your body to arise. Or maybe it's a deeper message about something that it needs to share with you for your life. And gently thank this part of your body. And slowly let go of your hand and slowly let go of the awareness of this part of your body, and letting yourself know that you can come back here at any time to continue to explore. And gently come back to a normal breath. And gently come back to feeling your sit bones on your chair, your legs and your feet on the floor. And slowly come back into the space. And notice the different things around you and ground back in. So it was a very short practice to help us kind of start to turn up the dial on the amount of information that we can access from our body. So it's a practice that we need to. Embodied wisdom is a practice. It can take some time to discover what is my body saying. Sometimes when we turn on this dial, like we turn on a radio and we haven't gotten the right station yet, it's like it goes into making sounds until we find the right channel. So at beginning, it might be like, or maybe radio silence. At the beginning, you might hear nothing. Or at the beginning, you might get like a lot of static, which might be like a lot of sensations, a lot of sounds, a lot of, pay attention to me. Why aren't you paying attention to me? Or like pain. And will all get regulated if you do this practice on a regular basis. And so once we get to the point where we can access our sensations, through the sensations, we can access what is happening at an emotional level. And at that emotional level, we can start to become more aware of our needs, right? So what's the point of this practice? It's to be able to discern what we truly need, maybe what we are ignoring, and how we can maybe provide more self-care. So a lot of the practices that I teach are tools that help you become more self-aware so that you can enhance your well-being, your emotional, your spiritual well-being. And so this doorway into our body is a doorway into accessing greater self-compassion, because also when we're doing this practice, a lot of things might come up. And so how can we be with, maybe the pain, maybe the challenges, but also noticing, and we didn't do this practice right now because we have a short amount of time, but usually what I do is I also invite people to find places in their body that feel open, or maybe feel neutral, or maybe feel pleasurable, because our body can also feel those things. But because we're so very trained, and our brain is trained to pay attention to the things that are wrong, and so a lot of the times we can get stuck in those places of discomfort because our body's trying to find solutions. But that doesn't mean that we don't experience openness or senses of feeling neutral or pleasure at the same time that we may be experiencing pain. And so, yeah, that's really a big thing that I could talk about for a long period of time, is this embodied wellness. But I wanted to give people a little bit of a practice to know that through the body, through actually entering our body, we can start to gain answers to things that we may be have like questions for. Other practices that I do, I will bring a question to the body and see what wants to arise through the sensation, but also through movement and dance. But this little practice was just to give you a taste that if we can arrive to meet ourselves here, then we can start to see how we can better take care of ourselves.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us, because that was a nice little experience. And I think that you hit on a lot of important points. One being that we do have the answers, I think, but sometimes we forget to ask the questions. And if you do go in there and ask your body, you will get a response. And sometimes not the first time around, because I do think that, as you mentioned earlier, it's about letting go of the mind. The mind wants to control. So you first have to make peace with that and find a way to get it to step aside for for at least a few minutes. But I think that's also where facilitators come in. I think to do this in a group with someone guiding you is helpful, because you have the experience. You can guide people. You can take people on that journey into their body to find those places. So I do think it's helpful to have somebody to guide you, whether it's a person or a guided visualization or something. But it does help to have a guide, someone who has taken this journey before and can help you through it. But I think, even if someone didn't have an experience the first time around, they should keep trying, because it does happen. And I really do think it also leads back to that whole point of sovereignty over our bodies. And we do know our bodies better than anyone else.
Absolutely.
And we just need to learn ways to access that information. And I think it sounds like that's what you're doing. You're trying to tune people into their body wisdom and to find it from the inside, so that they can do the work. They can do the work on their own.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think all healing is self-healing. So it's
Absolutely.
just about how are you going to do that, or how are you going to access that information?
Yeah. I completely agree. And I'll just respond really quickly that all of the tools that I teach and share are they're people. I always invite people to tune into their own awareness and see, how does this fit for me? Is this something that I want to try on? Is this something that I want to shift? And all of the practices that I teach, people can do on their own and can also take into their daily life. And so, as I was talking about the dance floor earlier, that it's a sacred ground for us to meet ourselves, but it's also a playground where we can try things on, where we can try on, like, I'm struggling with feeling empowered and strong in myself. So let me find this position in my body. Let me try moving through the space like really strongly. And then once we do that on the dance floor, or even if the dance floor is your living room space, once we have that physical imprinting, the mind, body, spirit imprinting of moving in this way, of like trying on any movement, then it becomes so much easier to try that on in the real world, because we've now created a new neural pathway in our mind and in our body that now has a way of being in this new way, for lack of better words. And so I think that's really powerful for people to know that dance, conscious dance, yes, it's a spiritual practice. And with all spiritual practices, the way that I see my conscious dance practice, for me anyways, is how can this apply to my emotional well-being, and how can I take this out into the world? And so I feel like all these tools are tools that we can apply in our day-to-day to help us, again, be as whole as we can possibly be as we navigate this spiritual journey on this life plane.
Well, and as you said, you're building new pathways. And once you do build those through, and the best way to build them is through a dance practice, then you go out in the world and you can remain grounded, for example, when things come up, because you have that pathway, you have access to those skills that maybe you didn't have before. So I think it isn't just something, to me, spirituality is not, or a spiritual practice is not something that I do to leave my body and to just be very calm and relaxed and out there somewhere. It's something that is very much embodied, and it gives you coping skills
Absolutely.
to deal with life. So it isn't something that frivolous, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not just something frivolous that you sort of do when you have time, but as you mentioned, it's self-care, and it's self-care that is helping you, is healing you, is making you a better person in the world. So I encourage people, I guess that's why I have a podcast.
That's why we're here.
To do that for the sake of everyone in the world. Yes.
And dance is such a ancient practice. And it's been used for millennia to commune together, to heal together, to pray, to connect with the divine. This is not a new technology. This is a technology that's very, very old.
And something I think we've lost. I think there's a beautiful book, Dancing in the Streets.
Yes, I was just about to mention that book.
Okay. Yeah. we're thinking the same. And yeah, it tells the whole history of dance and how we were dancing in the cave, and that was our religion. And then over time, we got separated from that. Well, we got separated from our bodies. So I guess it makes sense that we got separated from dance as well. But if on our path back to wholeness, we need to reconnect to the body and to find ways of being, and dance can be one of them. It can just be a part of your life that that has so many healing benefits on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Loving this conversation.
Well, let's talk a little bit, because we're running out of time here, but I want to talk a little bit about rituals. What types of rituals do you do with women, and what is the significance of doing rituals?
So for me, rituals is a way that we can, again, a lot of my work now that we're having this conversation is about bridging parts of ourselves that maybe are unclear, or parts of ourselves that are our identity or life challenges that we're going through. There's this moment, and I know everyone who's listening probably has had this experience, where you are navigating something really challenging. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a pregnancy loss, maybe it's leaving your home community, moving to new community. And so there's, this hero's journey that starts to happen. There's this moment of real kind of like unknown, that there's an unknown of what's coming next. And so I feel that ritual helps us bridge from what we've known, and how that relates to who we are, helps us navigate through maybe some of the darkness or through what we can't see, and helps us step into moving through the threshold of like the portal or the doorway, right? So when I think of these moments of change, we've gone from one space and are walking through a door into another space. And so ritual really helps us at an energetic, emotional, physical, spiritual level, lets ourselves know internally, and lets potentially others, if others are part of the ritual, know that we are going through a period of metamorphosis, change, and we are stepping into a new way of being. And so the rituals that I do are mostly around these markers of life. So I work with women, again, as I mentioned before, who are maybe traversing perimenopause or menopause, who maybe are becoming empty nesters. Maybe they have lost a partner. Maybe they are leaving a job, whatever it might be in terms of a life change. I create, in conjunction with them, a ritual that they can do either with me or on their own or in their community. And these rituals usually have a symbolic portion to them. So again, depending on what the woman is moving through, we might use symbolic things that really helps anchor what they are traversing. So I'll give you an example. A woman that I worked with, she was an artist, and she was going through menopause. And so she, part of her process was to do a painting of her life up until this point. And then to do another painting of what she was visualizing for herself in this next part of her life. And then we created some rituals for her to do with her community. And yeah, a bunch of portions. And sometimes it can include dance or a meditation that I will record for people. It can be very broad. That's why I do these sessions one-on-one with people. There's a bit of a consulting component. We figure out what the main piece is, and then we build it together. And then I either facilitate it for them or let them take it and to do with their own community or on
That's
their own.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't thought about that as ritual in that sense of being that anchor. That, I mean, it's a bridge, okay, and there's some kind of transformation. But I hadn't thought about the fact that you could actually find grounding in the fact that it's a
Absolutely.
ritual. So, yeah, that's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
And something that I do often for my community, for my dance community, like I just had one 2 days ago. It was a dance ritual, and it was called Dancing Your Seeds of Intention, because most of my community is still in North America, and so they're in spring. And so we did a ritual where it was both a visualization, and for some people they worked with tangible seeds. Some people worked with this visualization of planting seeds in their body and then dancing with their seeds of what it is that they are looking to plant and seed for this spring, and that they were looking to harvest and in August. So we'll do another dance later this season or in fall. And through the dance, we got to explore how do we nourish these seeds. We also explored maybe what is blocking me from planting these seeds. What is blocking me physically, mentally, spiritually. So you can also bring ritual into dance, and it's something that I love to do. And it's just such a powerful way to enhance our rituals through movement and through dance.
Yeah, I think it really grounds the ritual when is movement involved. That sounds beautiful. So, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to do one-on-one sessions or be involved in your communities, how can they do that?
They can reach out to me either just by dropping me an email at Liz, Liz, at lizdiaz.ca, or they can visit my website, which you have there up on the screen. I do offer free sessions, free group dances once a month, so you can come and see what it is to be part of the community, and if you like it. And then my other focus is my one-to-one sessions. So my one-to-one sessions can be, again, these more spiritually focused sessions, or they can be more of my dance movement therapy practice. So we work with more of the emotional components. Yeah, that's most of the ways that you can work with me. There's lots of different ways. It's all on my website. I've got like a 21-day program that's these little bite-size. You get a movement prompt, you get 15 minutes playlist, and then you get a journaling prompt as well. And it's for those of you who are just getting curious about moving and maybe want to have a daily practice but aren't sure how. This would be the program for you. And I'm sure you're going to ask me like, what's next? And so I'll wait until you ask me the question of what's next.
So if you want to get in touch with Liz, you can, or see what she's offering, you can go through her website, which again is www.lizdiaz.ca. And you're also on Instagram at Dance, Heal, Transform, and Mi Cuerpo Sagrado, and there are underscores between each of those words. And I will have all the links in the show notes. So if people want to look at those, you can just click on them and find
Thank
Liz.
you. Yeah, thank
all right.
you.
Well, thank you. And yes, do you have things that are up and coming that people might want to be involved in?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, there are two sort of major things that are up and coming. One is my dance temple facilitator training, and that will start again this fall. And it's for women who are leaders in their community who want to bring this movement modality, healing modality, and want to run women's dance circles. That's who it's for. And so I teach you everything from the beginning to the end of how to run your own dance circles, women's dance circles. So that's really exciting. This will be, I don't know, the fifth year, sixth year that I'm running this training. And the other thing that I have coming up is I'm running short 3-day retreats here in Peru. So I'm based in Peru. Sometimes I'm in Toronto. That's where my home base used to be, but now I'm based in Peru, in the Sacred Valley of Peru. And it's called Embodied Alchemy. So it's a 3-day retreat where we move through ritual, movement, expressive arts to support you in alchemizing. Again, everyone comes with a different intention to retreat, but we are doing embodied alchemy, and I will get into that. If you are curious, you can learn more about that. But I've got 3 coming up. So one's happening in July. This July, we are almost in July. We're almost in June. So July 5th to 7th. And then the next one will be in November. I believe it is the 8th to the 10th, November 2024. And then in March 2025, I can't remember the dates right now, but there'll be another one in March 2025, July 2025, and November 2025. And I've made them short so that if you are coming to the Sacred Valley of Peru, you can fit in my beautiful retreat while you go also plan to go to Machu Picchu or the Rainbow Mountain
Yes.
or Cusco.
Beautiful.
And I'm also, last thing I'll share is that if you are looking for a personalized retreat and you want to come to Peru, please also reach out. And this fall, I'm launching something new, and it's still beta testing. It's called Moving Through Perimenopause and Menopause. And so we'll be focusing specifically on this phase of life and using dance and all of these juicy rituals to help us navigate this time of change.
Beautiful. So there's a lot going on. And yep, there's something for everyone. So yes, check out Liz's website and you can get all the information from there. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing and giving us some more insights into the depth of dance. I think that it is a beautiful way to heal and to evolve, and there are many ways to do it. So thank you for sharing what you're doing with us.
Thank you so much for having this community and inviting all of us to be sharing this wisdom so more people can dance.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you to the audience for being here and sharing in that beautiful experience that Liz took us through. I hope you'll go back and do it often, do it again, and really take it in. So if you want to get in touch with me, my website is universaldancer.com. And also I have an online school where I do have dance courses and other courses at universaldancer.thinkific.com. So there's a lot going on, a lot for you to expand on. And again, thank you for being here. And I hope that you will join us next time. All right. Bye-bye.